This is kind of like a prayer going out to all the peeps close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Introducing. This is the joint where we give shout outs to all the peeps, you know what I'm saying? You know we couldn't do this joint without spreading some love to the ones. Yo, check it. Yeah. If I just ruled the world, I would give y'all everything. Yes, we going out. We going out just like that. Yeah. We going out. We going out just like that. Yeah. This is kind of like a prayer going out to all the peeps close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there for my whole life, the ones that came later in my life. Yeah. I appreciate all the blessings God has given me, and I want to repay it to you like this. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Introducing. This is the joint where we give shout outs to all the peeps, you know what I'm saying? You know we couldn't do this joint without spreading some love to the ones. Yo, check it. Yeah.
Alrighty. What's up? Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Welcome to everybody. Love my fro. Well, you know what? I've been calling you Love Me Fro for so long. It's Love My Fro. Love My Fro. Here it is. See? For all of you that don't speak foreign language. No, I'm joking. This is Love My Fro, not Love Me Fro. Okay? Not Love Me Fro. It could be Love Me Fro. It depends. But today I'm going to say, if I can remember. Yeah, exactly. I know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, word indeed. What's up, sister? How you doing? Matter of fact, let me drop the link, see what the hell is going on. You can hop up if you want. Anybody can hop up tonight. It's a wild night, wild days call for, proper responses. So my proper response is dropping the link. You never know what's going on out here. But look, this hurricane apparently is whipping some ass. Now, I know I'm supposed to talk about Mayor Adams today, and I'm going to get to Mayor Adams, but the news with Mayor Adams it's just, I hate to say it, but it's just fake, what you get from fake corruption. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have a constituency and that he doesn't come from New York or that he hasn't done anything on grassroots. I don't know. I'm not from New York. I'm not raised in New York. I don't know much about Mayor Adams except what I read or what New Yorkers tell me. And but from what I seen, and the charges versus the response, I'm sorry. There's not a lot of arguing away facts, and the facts seem pretty clear. Yeah. So either you don't know what corruption is and you did it, or you did it and you know, but or wasn't aware. But in any case, Mayor Adams ain't the only thing going on. Apparently, this storm has damaged a lot. And if you in one of these areas in the U.S. or outside of the U.S. where the storm is hitting, I hope you and your family are okay. I know somebody chimed in with me yesterday um, to let me know that they were affected. I mean, just the communications were affected. I don't know, it must be worse in some areas than others. Maybe some areas is communications because that's the phone lines essentially, or the satellite. Uh, Actually, I don't even know today what they're doing in the U.S. with this stuff. I know my phone is I don't have a landline phone. In any case, you see what I mean? I'm not one of those people with a landline phone. So I could have one if I wanted one, but I don't. So I don't have any landline service. I have internet. I have wireless phone, cell phone access. So I don't know if that means wireless phones are messed up. I don't know if that means the internet phones are messed up in the U.S. Some parts of the U.S. But you could be sure that the communications with storms it usually is a factor. I mean, even the satellite because satellites don't work too well when you're under a storm. By the way, but I mean, it can for it depends on what type you got. But in any case, I hope everybody's doing well in those areas that are affected by the storm. Um, yes. Now, speaking some facts, let me let me take a little sip of my coffee. Speaking of some facts regarding the storm, now I was not bullshitting y'all. Project 2025 calls for the limited response of FIFA in emergency disasters. It literally calls for that. That's not made up. That's not a joke. I'm going to play this back for you again so you hear the very real implications. Now, think about this. Somebody who likes these kind of ideas could become the president, you know? Someone who likes these ideas could be the president and or could become the president, and that would only be because people elected that person. Um, it's not going to be because of a coup d'etat in the United States. Hopefully not, but I doubt it very seriously. If there was one, it didn't work out too well the last time. But here, let me play this back.
Project 2025, developed by the Heritage Foundation, does mention FEMA and related disaster recovery mechanisms. The plan proposes significant changes to federal disaster response, including potentially raising the threshold for declaring a federal disaster, which would make it more difficult for states and communities to qualify for federal aid after disasters like hurricanes. Additionally, Project 2025 advocates for reducing or eliminating government programs such as the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, suggesting that private insurance markets should take over disaster coverage responsibilities. These changes, if implemented, would impact FEMA's operations, particularly in disaster recovery and relief distribution. Communities affected by hurricanes and other natural disasters might face reduced federal support under this proposal, with a heavier reliance on private sector solutions. FEMA is not explicitly targeted for elimination in Project 2025, but its role in disaster recovery could be diminished based on the broader goals of cutting back federal assistance programs, source 30 source.
Now, what that means is for stuff like this, hurricanes, stuff like hurricanes, they want to they're calling for privatizing the relief efforts, the disaster recovery and relief efforts. I don't know who thinks that's a wise idea. I don't know who thinks you're going to get resources out there when you're haggling over a dollar, when you're saying, hey, we can make money off this disaster. I don't know how you think making money off of disasters works. But in Project 2025, it is outlined already that they reduce the FEMA efforts, disaster recovery efforts, and that they be privatized largely. Now, right now, that's not what's going on in the U.S. That is what Project 2025 stipulates it is seeking out of its electoral candidates, the ones they support. So you have to ask the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, and you can't ask Trump because Trump don't know nothing about it. Apparently, he's never heard of it. So I hope people come to their senses and just realize that emergencies is not what you want companies bidding over, because usually the people need a timely, quick, and reliable response that covers everybody, not just the highest bidder, not just communities where a whole lot of money is going down. And would you even, couple that with Trump, would you even want Trump to give you a price on something? I mean, the man has committed fraud with his own properties in his own business, overvalued things. So you get the gist of this. You can see where this is going. All of a sudden, you got a disaster recovery. Your house ain't worth shit anymore, so they give you a penny versus somebody who overdone their house, Donald Trump, and said it's worth $5-10 million, even though it's worth 80,000 on paper, or 200,000 on paper. Now it's worth 2 million. You want this kind of space to exist, or but that's just the beginning of my thoughts. I call it welfare landlord. What do they call that? Slumlords. Yeah, it seemed like Project 2025 want to create slumlords out of some folks to make a quick penny during a disaster. So thank God that's not what's going on right now. Not to politicize this, but we are in an election cycle, so I'm not going to suppress the news either. You do know that right now there's there's an election and Biden is the president, although he's not running for re-election. But Biden made a statement, and for the federal government, for FEMA to act, it needs an official statement from the president. So that official statement was made one day before Helene hit the U.S. largely. So I don't know, 24 hours with 24 hours, how much that makes a difference, but it's better than a few days after. And obviously, you don't know how close, if a storm is going to hit. Sometimes it doesn't happen exactly how they say, but in any case, those funds have been, where that order was given, FEMA acted, and hopefully some support is coming to the ground. Now, I'm just going to review this a little bit, and let me know if you've heard of any stories. I mean, and I also don't know if the news is really staying up on it, but here is something from 2 hours back.
Tonight, dozens are dead and millions are trying to pick up the pieces after Helene made landfall earlier this week as more hurricane. Christian Benavides reports the property damage alone is estimated to be in the billions.
Helene left behind a path of destruction after making landfall in Florida and making its way through the southeast. In Tennessee, National Guard's helicopters spent hours airlifting.
Now,
more than
this
50 people.
is Florida, I believe. So think about that. I mean, Florida is reported to be heavy Republican state. So they're in the path of a lot of hurricanes. Does Florida want hurricane relief to be privatized instead of done by the federal government? Does Florida agree with Project 2025's goal to reduce FEMA disaster responses? And is that what Floridians want? Do they want something like that? Let me just make it clear what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the hurricane, and I'm talking about Project 2025, what Project 2025 wants instead of FEMA responses here.
Project 2025, developed by the Heritage Foundation, does mention FEMA and related disaster recovery mechanisms. The plan proposes significant changes to federal disaster response, including potentially raising the threshold for declaring a federal disaster, which would make it more difficult for states and communities to qualify for federal aid after disasters like hurricanes. Additionally, Project 2025 advocates for reducing or eliminating government programs such as the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, suggesting that private insurance markets should take over disaster coverage responsibilities. These changes, if implemented, would impact FEMA's operations.
Stop. Private insurance. What does it say here? It says, hold on. Project 2025, developed by Heritage Foundation, does mention FEMA and related disaster recovery mechanisms. The plan proposes, significant changes to federal disaster response, including potentially raising the threshold for declaring a federal disaster. Now, think about what raising the threshold would be for declaring. Now, the president, Biden, made the declaration 24 hours before, a day before Helene hit the U.S. So Project 2025 would call for a delayed, potentially raising the threshold. It means Project 2025 would have hit and started creating mass amounts of damage before a declaration would go out. And if the president doesn't make the declaration, FEMA can't act. Okay. Raising the threshold for declaring a federal disaster, which would make it more difficult for states and communities to qualify for federal aid after disasters like hurricanes. Additionally, Project 2025 advocates for reducing or eliminating government programs such as the National Food Insurance Program, suggesting that private insurance markets should take over the disaster coverage. Private insurance markets. I mean, you can already imagine, if you've been on Earth or been following the news or following the US economy, or unless you've been living on Mars, there's been housing bubbles. There's been all types of things that have happened in the US that could have been curtailed to somewhere or another. But private insurance markets, well, I would say that doesn't sound good at all. I don't want no private insurance, nothing, private nobody in my government response. I'm sorry. Americans are far too wealthy of a people to even be having that conversation in a society. I mean, imagine in the worst case scenario, what you want, privatized education, only privatized education, no public education. You want no public health in a disaster, no public, nothing, just all privatized. You think that's going to work out well? You think private works out well in democracy and societies and diverse, nations with different, where people argue, where one country, 50% of the country wants one thing, 50% wants the other. One wants to privatize, one wants government. You already can see where this is going to turn out. The people that believe nations, the government is there to secure, protect individuals, property. This would be ridiculous because you already have paid into the bank. How do you go from public to private when you have already paid in loads of money? Do you know how much money that is even? The US GDP is like 27 trillion this year. It was 25 the year before. I mean, it goes up $1 trillion or $2 trillion every year. That's loads of money. Why is the largest economy looking to squeeze a penny out of disasters? That makes 0 sense. That's backwards. You try to save money and pinch pennies and, in nations where you don't, have that kind of economy. So I don't know. I mean, what you want to do, turn everything into the private prison program? That's essentially what you want to do. Why though? Why would you want to privatize anything that has something to do with the foundations, the basics, the bare necessity? Why would you want to do that? I mean, the meat and potatoes, essentially privatize that. I mean, so what are you going to do? Sue a company when they don't do their job? How long is that going to take? I mean, you could think about all the things that are coming out of this. I mean, yeah. And how do you sue when you have no money? What you want to do? There are people that literally need, government assistance, that need help, need charity to even get an attorney. Anyway, so Y'all get the picture. That's Project 2025, and that's what they want to do with disasters. And the United States is bound to have, just like every other nation, to have a whole lot of disasters. Look, where I'm in Europe right now, even though you're experiencing a hurricane, we're experiencing rain flooding. Yes, they're shutting down roads. Yes, it's not a isolated thing. It's a global affair. Some places, I mean, people, if you're in a third world country, does anybody care if you have a landslide that kills a few thousand people just in 5 minutes? Yeah, not really. It happens, but it's not the biggest priority. Folks, there is aid that goes out, but it's like, how often you're going to make the news cycle in this privatized world, and look at this. It looks like damn near some of the similar things. There was no hurricane over here, but there's flooding, so for those that don't know, this was 20 feet, I believe 20 feet wave height, water heights in the way, in the, tension in the water, in the coastline. 20 feet. 20 feet? 20 feet is not a good look at all. 20 feet is not a good sign that it's going to settle down before it hits land. I mean, 20 feet is a fight. It's already a disaster, but yeah. Anyway, let me play some more of this. Anybody that's been affected by this hurricane, hearts go out to you and your families. And even though there seems to be a responsible government in effect right now, thanks to people doing what they should be doing swiftly instead of sleeping or playing golf, thankfully FEMA is out there, but it is a disaster, and people have to still bear with whatever is right in their face. You can even see here. I mean, how do these people? You see these cars here? How are these people going to drive out of here? It's locked. It's surrounded by water now. Look at this building. This is what, a few feet already. I don't know what floor this is. Is this a second floor? Nah, this ain't a second floor, but this is already like 4 feet, 3 feet. Hold on, 3 feet right here where we're watching. Yeah, all right.
Including some patients off the roof of a hospital where they had been trapped by floodwater.
Rescues have been made, attempts have been made. Some people are stranded on the roofs of their homes and places like that.
In Georgia and the Carolinas, severe flooding led to a number of rescues. In Asheville, North Carolina, residents were told to shelter in place as life-threatening floods damaged homes, toppled trees, and knocked out power to more than 800,000 people.
This is one of the worst storms in modern history for parts of western North Carolina. The end of the rain is not the end of the threat.
In Florida, cleanup is underway after Helene's storm surge and damaging winds wiped out communities.
So as you look around here, you see some homes that are now just rubble. This stuff's coming in, it's fierce, and it just is unstoppable. So there's a lot of damage.
In Cedar Key, near where Helene made landfall, some homes were washed away and others flattened.
Just the sound of the limbs falling and just, it was terrifying because, I didn't know what I was going to wake up to.
Millions who were in Helene's path are now on the long road to recovery. Cristian Benavides, CBS News.
Right. 2 seconds. Yeah, so that was not good at all, actually. And, there's more. There's more.
It's being described as biblical devastation caused by Hurricane Helene. It's a disaster across the Southeast. Millions. Tonight, this dam straining under floodwaters in North Carolina. The monster storm is now being blamed for at least 57 deaths across 5 states. We have 2 reports tonight, beginning with CBS's Jason Allen in Keaton Beach, Florida. Jason, good evening.
Good evening, Nancy. You know, these pilings back here, these held up a single-story house here more than 70 years. When you have damage this catastrophic, search crews have been combing this area throughout the day. But the governor said today there have been no deaths here.
Hurricane Helene delivering the knockout punch to Keaton Beach, still recovering from 2 brutal hurricanes over the past 13 months.
What do we do now? What do we continue to do this?
Spy Abajeris returned to find the lower level of his home ripped away by wind and water. Taylor County officials estimate 90% of homes in Keaton Beach are gone.
This was where our home was.
Helene broke storm surge records when it made landfall in the Big Bend region Thursday night. Statewide, crews have conducted thousands of rescue missions. Further south in Cedar Key, officials say it's not safe.
You know, what if this was happening during, and there was a president that supported Project 2025? What if you had a president that supported the reduced reaction of FEMA? What if you had that type of president? What if you had the president that wanted the hurricane reaction to be privatized, for companies to manage themselves privately instead of the big old government, like Project 2025 is suggesting? What would something like this? I mean, this is already complete disaster. How long do you think, and how many people do you think would be segregated out of help? Who do you think would control the pricing? What do you think they would do? Have a bidding war, on hurricanes, on disasters? How the hell can you try to make profit on a disaster? But that's what Project 2025 is actually asking for. And people, that's big. Think about your family that own land. Think about you inherited a home. Think about all these things that you depend on now. Americans, often the ones that we really, should be thinking about are the ones that have one home and don't have 2 and 3 and 4 to hop into. Right? What about the average American that has one home? How are we going to deal with them?
For residents or rescue workers, access to the barrier islands west of Tampa just opened to residents late today. Officials say communities there have no power.
What about the Americans with no home, the ones that rent from the people with homes? What are those people that own those homes going to do when the recovery response is privatized? What they got to do? Have a bidding war? What they got to go through litigation to get their homes fixed back up to par so that they can house people more, or their properties? Are there going to be bad actors that want, a greater amount of money than the property was worth in the beginning? Are we going to have fraudsters in the middle of that privatized, response? Yeah, I have no clue. But in any case, the disaster looks bad enough with loads of money and loads of resources, manpower thrown into it. It already looks bad enough. Lord knows what it'll look like being privatized.
No water and catastrophic flood damage. The remnants of the storm are now spinning north.
I'm Dave Malkoff in Atlanta, where you can see waterlogged trees have crushed homes here. The entire region is covered in damage like this, and it's been a very deadly storm. In Tennessee, the flooding was so bad that 2 dams were at risk of failing. The city of Newport was evacuated, but both dams ultimately held.
Rescues have been made, attempts have been made. Some people are stranded on the roofs of their homes and places like that.
Yesterday,
okay, so dams.
This hospital needed the help of the state police and National Guard to lift more than 50 people off of the roof. In North Carolina, the intense flooding caused by Helene was strong enough to wash away cars. First responders helping rescue more than 100 people. Today, Georgia's governor toured the hard-hit city of Valdosta.
What it looks like from the air, it looks like a tornado went off. It looks like a bomb went off.
I was like all around the water, like it was like an island.
In Atlanta, Serena Rodriguez was asleep in this bed when she started floating. It was not a dream.
Oh, yeah, a nightmare mostly. Yeah, it was insane. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock all the time. I was like, and I never experienced anything like it.
Wow, and the water isn't just going over beds and over roadways, but also underneath them, eating away at the soil and opening up sinkholes like this one here in Atlanta. Nancy, that means that Helene's destruction may not be over yet.
Dave Malkoff in Atlanta and Jason Allen in Keaton Beach, Florida. Thank you.
Wow.
So what is ClickUp?
All right. So yeah, hopefully people that are caught up in this hurricane will find ways, to get help and have family help as well. It's a lot of people that don't have that, obviously, in these situations. A lot of people don't have much to go on always. So the ones that do generally also have to take on others as well, in disasters. But if you do, that's a good situation. So many people don't. So it's really not looking well right now. Let me see if I can get one more live on this right now. I don't know if it's passed. Has the hurricane passed? Has it subsided? Okay, they say this is live, but sometimes they're rerunning this CNN News 18. They're rerunning stuff that's not actually live. They just live all the damn time. But let me see here. Okay, this one says live, and this is Fox. They might be running stories too. That's the same thing.
Here for you. We have a lot of resources on our
website
under our Hurricane Helene page. Please go to that.
And this is a topic for Fox News. Do you support Project 2025? Fox News, do you support the reduction of FEMA responses, a reduced FEMA response, and instead shooting for a privatized response to disaster emergencies and relief? Fox News, where do you stand on that? This is a news story for Fox News. Literally, hurricane, Project 2025, disaster response, reduction of FEMA. Project 2025 calls for a reduction of FEMA response in natural disasters. This should be Fox News should be having a debate about this right now, because this is their story. They birthed this story, being a right-wing, place that supports right-wingers and all of this crazy stuff going on. This is their story. They birthed this. They've been creating this for a damn decade, spawning and trying to create and trying to create stir up craziness. Okay, so they have the craziness created. So now they have Project 2025, where they want to reduce FEMA response. That's what they're calling for. A president that wants to reduce FEMA response and privatize disaster relief. Privatize it like Trump has privatized his hotel pricing. You know how that works. How he's privatized the value of his home. It ain't gonna be government valued. Nah, it's gonna be privatized. It's gonna be what I say it is. It's gonna cost what I say it's gonna cost. It's valued at what I say it's valued as, just because. Now, who does it work like that for in the United States of America? Who would you say that works for? It is because I say so. Who can get away with anything that nobody else can? Who can get away with 37 felonies and run for president? Could it be a black lady? Could it be a black man? Anybody, any particular one can get away with this? Have you ever seen a female president before in the United States? Nope. So you can't say it will be her, the lady, that would get away with this. Even the white lady. Would a white woman get away with suggesting FEMA should have a reduced response time and privatize relief efforts? Can a white woman run for president on that platform and be a 37-time felon? Nah, it's only one type. We know it's very particular that could suggest that, and that's what it is. So I'm going to let this play, and then I'm going to bring up the document real quick.
You can all of those resources available. We're also working on donation capability as well. We've had a number of people reach out asking how they can help farmers and producers monetarily. We are currently in the process of putting that together. We hope to be getting that information out as quickly as possible, so folks that want to participate in that particular way, they will be able to do that. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you all to what you're doing. We're in this together. The Department of Agriculture and our entire team across the state, we're going to be here for you. I'll turn it back over to Governor Kemp, and I'll be happy to answer any questions after this is over as well. Thank you, Governor.
You're listening to officials down there in Georgia discuss recovery efforts after Helene. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break. We continue with more of those remarks next.
2 seconds. All right, let me see here. Now let me pull this up. Pull up the document here. 2025. Now can y'all see this? Yeah, okay. Let me just make it bigger. Now let me see here. If I go to, I'm sure they have a search. Here we go, search. FEMA. So you can see, oh, wait a second, damn. They got female. I want FEMA. Well, how many times does it come up? 48 times. Okay, so let's see where it starts at. Oh, okay. I see. I have to go through one at a time. So FEMA. What do I need to make this smaller? Wait a second. Let me just reduce this. I can see for some reason it's too large. Why is that? Oh, you know what I'm doing there? Yeah, also this. Okay, zoom out. Right, there we go. Okay, now FEMA. Okay, let's go back. Why does it not have this in there? You know what? Maybe I have let me just get this from another. I don't know why that's on there. Here it is. Now, do they have, can I search it here? Yeah, okay. Buy the book. Man, you out your damn mind. I ain't buying that damn book. Let me go back. Look, they don't even want they want your name and shit. Here we go. Let me do something else. Project 2025, FEMA. Here we go. Now, so I'm not the only person who's reported on this. I mean, it might be right now in the here and now, but these are other articles that have mentioned this before, and this goes back. You see, this is about Project 2025, produces eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms. What's up, black folk, black businessmen, black businesswomen? What's up with that? I mean, the minority of you, that is, who say you're voting for Trump, what's up with this? Do you want this to happen? Do you want eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms? I mean, this is what I'm getting at. This is what this storm, you should be asking these questions in this storm, because this is an election question. This is a here and now question. This is a storm your ass out of your home and your business question. This is, can your private business survive this storm on your own? Or do you want some government assistance? Or do you not want to go? Can you survive it because you're the strong business person, the homeowner who's renting out the house? I'm investing in real estate, so I'm voting for Trump type of response. Is this for, are you with this? Are you with this? Because Project 2025, let me make it clear, it's not for you. It's for limiting responsibility or access to aid to help from the government. Eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms. Who does that always hit the most? Reducing anything. Who does that always affect the most? Who does that affect first, you think, in a capitalistic society? Who do you think? Whose name rings a bell? Just like who's protected the most, you already have an idea of what that looks like in the United States of America figuratively. Well, then let's do the opposite. Who do you think is affected the most? Literally, figuratively, like whose face pops up in your mind when you read this kind of stuff? I mean, this is Helene, but people have been talking about this because natural disasters are hitting the U.S. It's something that has been talked about before, and they keep getting worse. But just for this is August 8th, 2024. So this is the last hurricane they had this conversation. It's always time for another conversation. That's what's going on here. The architects of Project 2025 would abandon American families and small businesses in a time of crises, leaving them with fewer tools and resources to rebuild their lives. I'm going to put this in the chat. The chat is also on replay. So those of you that don't catch the show live, here it is. You can get the link in the chat. Yeah, and you let me know what it do. I know that I don't see myself any logical reason, any responsible reason why there would ever be a situation where everybody, large amounts of the members of the community, taxpayers, lose everything because of a natural disaster. It's like domino, like it's a random event. You don't know who it's going to hit. I can't imagine a plan for that being reducing the FEMA response, reducing relief efforts by FEMA or the government. I can't see why that would be the answer to a natural disaster, something you cannot plan for. I mean, it makes no sense, but obviously, well, it does make sense in one way, because if you live in a capitalistic society that has people that have accrued generational wealth through other disasters, you could say, like, because we know some projects are just disasters on others. I mean, we know somebody had to lose their land for the United States to exist. We know some people had to lose their lives for the country to exist. We know some people were stolen their land for some people to exist. We know some people had to slave that land for this country to exist. So we know that because that's what happened. You need not know anything else. If you don't know that about the United States of America, you may as well stop existing, because that's why you exist. That's why you have a country, because of those things. So when you look at Project 25 today, 2024, look at Project 2025, and you think about this response, there's been disasters. What would the country be without a federal response? What would the country's security be without a federal response? Would you want to privatize that too? Think about the last time something that big in the U.S. has been privatized. It's been slavery. It didn't go well. That's when the last time it's been privatized. Owning of people. The rich have it. The aristocratic wealthy have the power. Everybody else have none. Zero. You have no say, because if you're not rich, you couldn't have a vote. If you weren't a man, you couldn't have a vote. And if you were half a man, like slaves, you couldn't have a vote or own property either. So we already have the picture really tuned in to what this is about. You could put a face on this, and the face is somebody like Donald Trump. That's his face. They support him. Project 2025 supports reduced hurricane disaster relief for families and small business people. You can put a face on that too, but it's not the same face as Donald Trump. What that face is typically going to look like is somebody closer to my listeners, not all of them, but yeah, the ones that watch the lives. Yeah, the ones that watch the shorts are another story. That's a broader demographic, but in any case, let me flip back. Please read that article. I'm sure this story has been looked into, but right now we need reminders. Every day coming up to this election, we need real life reminders because a lot of people don't connect the dots, and have difficulty connecting the dots. Sadly enough, it's not that easy. People don't always know what a vote does. People don't always connect. What am I vote? What's the purpose of a vote? Why do I have the right to vote? Well, FEMA, that is government response to disaster relief, is part of why you vote. You want to decide how that's going to work. You want to decide how healthcare is going to be distributed in your state, in your country. You want to decide how education is going to be distributed equally and fairly, access to it in your state. You want to be able to decide stuff, all kinds of stuff. But keep in mind, those that seem to come out with better infrastructure from the ground up tend to be people that know how to focus on what the multitude needs, obviously, the multitude, and then find the blind spots from there. Find out where the blind spots that the multitude, the special interests, that exist in different communities, but everybody need water. Everybody needs water. Everybody needs shelter. Everybody needs food. You don't have to fight over that. Those aren't things one needs to fight over, because whether you're, a fag from, Florida, excuse my language, or from, I don't know where, Atlanta, they say Atlanta, San Francisco, or you're not, or you're just a regular, heterosexual dude. You need water. You need clothes. You need, a place to lay your head. You see what I mean? Whether you're a mother or a son, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you're a black Trumpian MAGA person or not, you need water in a natural disaster. You need clothes. You need food, right? So those are the underlying things that affect all people. So those things should be easily, understood, and with some agreement that, of course, some of the blind spots get dealt with. But that's what you have in the democracy in the U.S. That's what you have when it's utilized, which we know a lot of people, some people are having problems getting to the voting booth. Some people are having problems getting to the town meeting. Some people are having problems getting to the ANC, meetings about their town and what's going on in their town, whether the, certain kind of, things are going to be enacted, or, this kind of stuff, governing self-governance in states. You have that. You got federal and then you got state. So you have, one overlapping, and then you have one that is specific and allowed to have a little bit of choice and freedoms for that specific demographic, and it's done through the democratic process, through votes. It's only done through votes. So whether you vote Democrat or you vote Republican, understand how things get done is through votes. The law. If it's not through a vote, it's not getting done. If it's gotten done before, it only got done because someone voted on it. You see what I mean? And I'm not talking about going all the way back to the Constitution either, even though some people had a vote there, but obviously, everybody didn't have a vote. Women didn't have a vote. Black people didn't have a vote. right? So, you could see how that works. You want to get back to where you don't have a vote. I don't think there's many people that want to do that. So voting is a good option, and staying up on why you're voting and what the things are that you're voting for. Management, administration. You would want to have a good manager, a good administrator, an honest one that is at the helm, and you would want to stop people from trying to, some people call it privatize. I call it re-slavize. Make property out of people, privatize things like this, natural disasters, so that the rich get to be the masters of your fate again, instead of the public getting to decide what's best for the public. The wealthy will get to decide when disasters are privatized. So let's hear some more about what they're saying here. I mean, Fox News ain't the only news, though. And is it news?
I'd say about 2/3 of those are here in Lowndes County.
You know what? It's too low. That audio was too low on Fox. So let me just, any case, let me just, there seemed to be a whole lot of right-wing news, man. I don't like Fox because they say it's live, and a lot of times it's not really
That's
live.
the remains of a flatbed, and I think it was traveling with some type of, there's toilet paper everywhere, maybe from a restaurant, but maybe also from this flatbed. I also want to show you that this is the guardrail here, completely flattened at this point. So there's nothing holding you against this and the river. And all of this debris is just here piled up. If you look right in between some of that plywood, some of that wood there, that's an office chair. So, this isn't somewhere where we had an office nearby. All of this came moving down the river at some point in time or another, or maybe even blown in parts of Helene's winds. I want to take you pivot just a little bit more. There's 2x4 everywhere. If you look off into the distance, that black box is a refrigerator. So that's a refrigerator from possibly someone's home, or even, a restaurant or a business in the area. And then if you look here, this gray pole, this is a light pole taking you all the way up here. So this is another example of, the winds and the fury of Helene. It was a powerful storm, even after it passed through Tallahassee. I showed you all of these elements because this is really the beginning of what those in Asheville are going to be going through over the next couple of weeks, possibly months at this point in time. They are heartbroken. I talked to a couple of residents here that, they look at this area, which was once a really beautiful park. And I'm told that they only had this park for less than a year. They had just finished restoration, or they had just finished building this up. It used to be a junkyard. Last year, they finished last summer. Beautiful running park. We had shown you earlier some of the swings and the benches there that are underwater. So all of this at one point was the grass that lined the park. It was a running trail. No longer the case. It's all underwater at this point in time. And the recovery efforts are going to be a long journey at that. I talked to residents who have yet, as you mentioned, to even get in touch with family members. They're still trying to make calls to mothers and fathers that may not live in the state. So it's a hard pill to swallow at this point, Britta. And you and I know that this is only the beginning of this recovery process.
It is. And Kiana, to give people a reference of how deep the water got, because believe it or not, this is an improvement. You were showing us the water lines, and just calculating all the lines that you've shown us over the last couple hours, the water was well over your head in this location.
Oh, yeah.
And that is powerful.
Absolutely.
That's how you get this type of debris, is the power of water.
Absolutely. And I think that's the other scary part, is that yesterday this time, this is an improvement from yesterday, and this is a 24 hours removed. So, most of this area was underwater. Actually, let's pivot, Rick, if you don't mind.
Okay, so 24 hours ago,
Behind
this area was underwater. Even she would be underwater, yeah, crazy.
is a railroad where you have the arm that comes down when typically a train is on the way. That was underwater. So that just goes to show how much of this water went all the way up the street, over the railroad tracks, into businesses, knocking down power poles, into people's homes per se, and making a lot of the ways of traveling in or out of Asheville impossible.
Can you imagine how ridiculous something like this would be if the recovery relief effort was privatized? Can you imagine what that process would be like? Instead of it being streamlined, already outlined by an engineering force, right? That isn't stated by the government to respond, the best of the best, the big project doers, movers, and shakers. Instead of relying on that information, Army engineers, things like this, they would rely on other experts, because if you privatize disaster response, then obviously they want to make money. Their whole thing is about what makes them the most money. What is the solution to get the most amount of money out of this disaster? That's what a business, can potentially do. It's not thinking how you make the least amount of money, how you provide the most resources for the least amount of money. It's not thinking of that. You know, and I'm pretty sure most of these regions that are getting right now and will get under Biden, Harris, would get recovery relief, expedited. Even states would get it on a federal level, and I think the federal government would be looking into what insurance companies are doing also, to be able to estimate where do they step in if they need to step in. But obviously you can't really plan on a natural disaster, but and it can come in many forms. It could be flooding, it could be wind, it could be earthquake in some places. You never know what it is, but we know one thing for sure. This is not what Trump described. Trump talked about global warming as something like, hey, we just get more beachfront property. Well, here is what Trump means when he says beachfront property. He means your ass is out of a home. He doesn't mean you will be on the beach. He means some types will be swallowed up by the water. Some types will lose their home, and good riddance to them. That's what that statement is about. Good riddance to those that, can't rebuild. I'm going to make some money off of you because, I'm a businessman. I'm a business. And when I say business, I mean business. Yeah.
And I was on air when the flash flood emergency was called for Asheville, and a lot of people don't realize how fast this all happens. It happens in less than an hour. The rain's raining down for a couple hours, then all of a sudden within an hour, everything starts to rush in. And then unfortunately, the rest is history. Kiana, thank you for the update out of Asheville. We send the best to everyone there. It's a long road. It's a long road. And for people that are watching, if you can help, that's what these communities need.
Get out of the way. Deep wind. Oh, God.
Every time I see this video, I'm still really taken back by
This dude,
sound of
look
it.
at this.
The
Look at this
sound.
man. He's standing right there. He don't know if the ground can sink in from right there himself. I mean, and he's just standing there taking a video. He could step back a little bit and take this video. This is not advisable, y'all, where he's standing with this kind of water, seeping into the surrounding, soil, anyway.
Under the power of the water, ripping the bridge down and taking it into the dark, murky water below. It's incredible. It's terrifying. Unfortunately, there is rain that's still in the forecast for some of these hard-hit areas. Nothing like what we saw, and nothing that's going to make the situation worse. But what created the flood disaster for Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina is that what was left of Helene literally was gobbled up by an upper level low pushing in from the west. It's like a disgusting game of Pac-Man. These areas of low pressure, they interact, and then one ends up winning out. And because the upper level low won out, it's cut off from the jet stream. It just meanders, kind of hangs out, and it will not bring back what we saw. I mean, we had 28 flash flood emergencies in one day. We averaged that for a whole year for the U.S. But this is a look at radar. This is what we're left with, some light shower activity. Eventually, this upper level low will open up, and that allows for the movement. But that's a long process. So we still have flood warnings, and we still have a few flash flood emergencies. A lot of them are along areas where we have dams because we have so much water that's rushing through, and you want to just make sure that there's not a failure, an infrastructure failure. So there's a couple spots that we're looking at in regards to that. But here's a look at that upper level low as it opens up. It starts to move off to the north and east. This is all going to really take shape Sunday night into Monday. So by Monday and Tuesday, we have some rain across West Virginia and Virginia. That's still mountainous terrain. So unfortunately, you do squeak out higher amounts. We're looking at 2 to 3 inches of rain, very common for the mountains of Virginia. That's not going to cause a flash flood emergency, but it's a lot of water going into rivers, and our rivers are already taxed to the south. I mean, look at all of these flood gauges that are elevated. In fact, we still have major flooding across the Carolinas. The water that falls in Virginia, some of those watersheds dumps into this area. So it means that we don't see them for a long amount of time. In fact, in North Carolina, some of these rivers will be at major flood stage all the way through the beginning of next week.
I do want to talk more about the cleanup happening here. We've talked about, we've both been to this place. It was my favorite beach when I lived here. Typically, we got some folks out and about. This would be packed because we're approaching sunset, and the sunset here are elite, truly. I mean, the only place in America that you can get a sunset that looks like this is the West Coast. This is the west coast of Florida, looking out over the Gulf of Mexico, this giant body of water. It's not the Pacific like you get over on the West Coast, but it's the only place in the eastern part of the country that you can watch the sunset over a giant body of water like that, at least with a tropical look. And it's just a few folks. Everybody is cleaning up and trying to assess what just played out. You've got all the bobcats, the Kubotas, moving the dunes in the sand that got pushed by this giant surge. It pushed over this street light down to about 45 degrees. And you look at it, I hate to keep making that analogy, but it looks like a snowstorm came through and the plow came by and there's a foot of snow on the side of the road over there, but it's sand. And in this spot, we actually got this story. We've been talking to people throughout this. We've been all around Pinellas County, all around the Tampa, and folks have been coming up, and we've had a lot of just firsthand accounts of folks going through the storm, the decisions they made, the experiences that they and their friends and families had. This car was put here because the owner was told that would be the safest spot for it.
Wow.
On Pass-A-Grille. They didn't have the context, right? This was a record surge, as we talked about, something like 3 feet above the previous high. So apparently in storms past,
What is that, mud?
we talked about how I'm standing on what used to be the dunes.
Okay.
The dunes got flattened out and pushed into the street.
Okay.
But behind the dunes, driving up a little bit, even if
So all of that earth, all the sand dunes got pushed in. Okay. Now I see what's going on. Yeah, that's a lot of power when you can move that much earth. But yeah, this is something else. Well, I had people, I actually got a shout out. Let me see here for a second. Yeah, I got a message from somebody in the US that was telling me their power is out, so I guess they were just coming online briefly through their mobile to communicate if they could their power. But yeah, communications are bad, this kind of stuff, the internet primarily. So that affects a lot of people's ability to hop online, obviously. And, so people can't get on and be uploading the storm and shit. Everybody can't just do selfies in the storm and upload it when it's hitting. It depends on what time it caught you or what time the storm hit. And obviously a lot of people's, their hours have changed, because if you got a disaster, you don't sleep well. Your day planning is over. Yeah. So it's life altering. And yeah, you could see here he's talking about elite sunsets, on the what is this? The what do they call that part of the Gulf of Mexico, right? That water in the Gulf, right? That area between that US shares part of, Mexico shares part of, right? The sand dunes been blown all the way up. Look at this. Look at how many feet this is, though. This is a lot of feet, y'all. That's a lot of sand. That's like 2 feet of sand. 2 feet of sand, basically, all blown up. Yeah. So yeah, but this is not the worst of it. I mean, obviously, it's different
Water would have
areas.
come into the street. The thinking was that
This is the beach, but this is not the only place affected.
the cars are up a bit and the water will go by and they'll be just fine. They didn't think that the actual integrity of the dunes would be compromised and get pushed over onto the car. So that's what happened there. That's how it played out.
Wow. So what one thought would be a smart move ends up being the worst move.
Damn.
There's going to be a lot of those stories that come out.
Yeah.
That is so tough, Ian. Ian Oliver reporting from Florida. It's going to be a long road to recovery. Let's take a look at some more scenes of Helene.
All right.
This is body camera.
So they said that it's a long road to recovery. Well, this is the U.S. and let's not play games with what it is. It's also an election cycle, and ideas about what to do during storms like this are actually part of what you vote for. How do you want the government to respond right now? How would you prefer the government of the United States respond right now? Would you propose something like Project 2025 has proposed, a reduction in FEMA response and to privatize disaster relief and disaster response? Would you support that? That's what Project 2025 would call for. And yes, there's multiple articles about this. This has been a question for months, since the last hurricane. And yes, it will be a question for this hurricane too. Project 2025 proposes, the last hurricane was in August, by the way, so we're not talking about last year. Project 2025 proposes eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms. So what say you? Do you support Project 2025 proposal for how to handle storms? As a matter of fact, let me put that question up in the chat for folks. I'm gonna make a little poll and people can fill out the poll now or later if they like. But let me put it in the chat real quick. 2 seconds, y'all. Let me see. What is this? Engage with a Q&A. Yes. How about do? Okay, hold on. Do you support privatizing disaster response and relief as suggested in Project 2025? Right. Now let me just do 1 second here. Okay, so, okay, yes or no? Do you support privatizing disaster? Did I spell that right? Disaster. Let me see something here. I don't think I did. Right, okay. So let me see. Yeah, sometimes, there we go. There's the poll. For those of you that are cool with that, here's the poll. Do you support privatizing disaster response relief as suggested in Project 2024. Now let me see here. I don't. So I'm going to press no because I don't. Damn, can I even vote in my own poll? I don't even think I could vote. But the rest of y'all can see this. Let me put it up in the screen here so folks can see it. Here it is right here to the right. So as it reads, do you support privatizing disaster response and relief as suggested in Project 2025? Okay, yeah, I see somebody has voted. No, maybe that was me or who else? I don't know. But in any case, look the story up yourself. Be informed yourself. Of course, I'm not saying go out there and find some disinformation site and call that being informed. No, you even have to fact check all your information. So what I did was I've been looking over this matter the last couple of days. So I didn't just hop on the internet after I saw one thing and start preaching and praying, to folks and trying to get people together and rally folks around something I haven't researched. No, I looked into it and then I came online. It just occurred to me like, wow, let me go look into what Project 2025 thinks about FEMA response, disaster response. And it just popped in my head. And so I did it. And it turns out they have written about this. And it also turns out that there's been news articles written about this during the last disaster that happened in August. Yes, that's the research I'm doing. I'm not just, I went right to the source to read and to what do they call it? Control F, search the document for FEMA mentions. And I did that. I did that in the last show, a couple of shows back. Now I'm following up on that. I didn't see a lot mentioned in the news. Obviously, the news, you don't want to politicize a disaster. And I don't either. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to politicize. I'm just being real. I'm a certain age, so who knows if I'll be alive tomorrow to even ask the question. I'm not that old, but life has a way of doing stuff. Life be lifing. You see what I'm saying? And it can do anything. So I'm not for games. I'm not politicizing this. I'm asking a straight up the middle question, and I ain't got time to wait till next year to ask it or a week. Fuck it. I'm going to ask the question now. Do you support Project 2025 what they propose in eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after the storms? Now, go to Project 2025, download the document or and Control F. That's what you do when you want to search words in a document. And I word searched FEMA, FEMA, capitals. I Controlled F that inside of the actual document and I came up with their responses. And then I researched online a little more and found out there were some articles reporting about it also. Yes, it calls for a reduction and privatizing of emergency responses. So instead of there being the government job, they want to make money off of it. Because why else would you want a business? And why would you want to privatize something unless you want to make money off of a fucking disaster? I mean, it's insulting, but this is what these folks want. This is what these people do. This is how they roll. They do not roll like people that give a damn. They go out there and say, hey, you people are so ignorant, you might vote for anything, so we may as well write up anything and watch your dumbasses vote for it. Yeah. Even Donald Trump said that, he's mentioned about the Republican people. People didn't believe his ass, but he talked something about Republican, the masses of Republicans, the layman Republican, and how insidious their voting is. And he was correct. And then he ran under the Republican Party platform, and it was correct. A lot of these ignoramuses like being broke. A lot of these people that are poor in rural areas in America that are in a certain demographic. I don't want to keep repeating what demographic it is, but who supports MAGA? I mean, look at them, right? These people aren't rich. These is broke people that can't even read Project 2025. They don't know what the elites of their group are doing to them even. You know what I'm saying? How many MAGA supporters think ever been to the Heritage Family headquarters in Washington, D.C.? Have they? I mean, they don't need to go, but you could read Project 2025. I mean, you could download it. Have they read it? You know, what do they think about it? I mean, it could be in there. It could say eliminate their asses, and they would be like, okay. You know, that's where you at with some people. Yo, break room, what's up? How you doing? Here you go. Here go the link if you want to hop up. Yeah, so it's disaster time. A lot of people been affected by this. Global warming is not a made up theory. It may not be written exactly how you need it to be written up, but it's real. It's happening, and it's happening to you. You know, it's happening in the form of a lot of stuff. And it's going to keep on happening. So you might want to stay up on the conversation. You may not agree with the exact word, global, or 2 words, global warming, but you could see that this disaster is not what Trump made it out to be. This is more than 5 centimeters, 5 inches of beach, of new beachfront property. This is something that is different than how Trump described it. It is resulting in 20-foot waves. It's resulting in 20-foot waves. Can you believe that? 20-foot waves? Can you believe it? 20-foot waves. I mean, what the hell? They're talking about they'd be right back. Can you believe that? 20-foot waves. 20-foot waves, when they hit the land, they will knock shit down. You know, just in case, because 5-foot waves did, 10-foot waves did. Just the 15-foot waves did just earlier this year. And you got 20-foot waves. So what does that mean? And to any ignoramus that knows what 1 + 1 means, it means the effects are going to be worse. And to downplay the effects is insane. It is insane, and it is worse than insane when you're trying to be the president and you downplay the effects. You are a homicidal sociopath at that point, because you got no problem, and keep in mind, got no problem with massive amounts of deaths. Look, Trump already did this with COVID. He talked down COVID. You know how many people died in the U.S. because of COVID? And do you know how slow Trump's COVID response was? How long did it take him to declare a disaster so FEMA could get into action? How many days did it take Trump to figure out, is COVID something we need to involve FEMA with? Is this really as bad as what people say it is? It doesn't sound bad to me. I mean, you could just, everybody got Clorox under the sink. That's what Trump was like, that's how he was behaving. He didn't do what you would think a president would do. That is, issue the disaster warrant and shut the fuck up. After that, let the experts do their job. No, Trump didn't do that. Trump wanted to be the king over every branch of government via his appointees. He wanted to be the king. That's what they literally argued he had the authority to do with an appointee, which is wrong, by the way. But he said it ain't that bad. This is what beachfront property looks like to Trump. He was talking about global warming. This is what he was talking about. That, a few inches of beachfront property. Here we go. Yeah, he lifted the policies early too. Exactly. He was like, COVID's over. Shit. This man was. Do this look like 15 inches of beachfront property? 5 inches of beachfront property? I mean, Trump joked about this. I mean, how bad could it be when you got a guy who jokes about disasters days before they hit, and then when they hit and people just forget about it? No, we don't want to talk about what Trump said. Trump said 5 inches of new beachfront property. He said that's what global warming was. Well, this is what it really is, the effects. And if it's too complex of a theory for you to get, maybe you get it now. And the question of today is up there. Please fill out the survey, fill out the poll in the chat. Here it is right here. There's a question that it leads to this article also. But the question is, do you support privatizing disaster response and relief as suggested in Project 2025? Do you support it or not support it? If you support it, then press yes. If you don't, press no. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know what you think. Inquiring minds don't want to know what I think, because I let people know what I think all the time. You don't even have to inquire. This is what I think. I'm putting it out there, but I want to know what you think. I'm inquiring. What do you think? And for those of you that catch the live stream later when it's not live, let me know what you think. If the poll is not up in the chat, once the live is over, if the poll is not up in the chat once the live is over, leave your comment in the comment section. Do you support proposals privatizing disaster response and relief as suggested in Project 2025? Or do you think it should be FEMA? Do you think FEMA's role should be reduced as suggested in Project 2025? Or do you not agree with that? The poll is in the chat. Please fill out the poll. Let me know what you think. For those of you that did not know, yes, Project 2025 does call for a reduction in disaster relief and a privatizing of it. Project 2025 proposes eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms. And this article was done after the last storm this summer, after the last hurricane hit. You see, the date on it is August, as you can see right here, 2024. And this was, I believe, the last hurricane. What was the last hurricane called? Damn, it must be A, B, C, D, F, G. It must be a G. Geraldo? Hurricane Geraldo? I don't know. Hurricane Debbie. Yeah, okay. Damn, they don't do it alphabetically. That was Hurricane Debbie. Yeah, as this article states. And so they raised the issue. They brought this issue up before. Yes, this was proposed in Project 2025, a reduction in FEMA response and relief thereafter. So you should be aware of that, because it's an election cycle. Although Trump says you don't know nothing about nothing. I don't know what Project 2025 is. How would I know? I wouldn't know. I'm the last person to know, because I don't want to know, because I don't want to be asked that question. So I don't know. Trump doesn't know what Project 2025 is. But I'm very sure if you've been affected by this storm, you should know. You should definitely know if you're one of the people that's affected by this storm. You should know what Project 2025 is, because Project 2025 calls for the reduction in FEMA response and a privatizing of aid efforts. So this, disaster relief should be privatized according to Project 2025. So there's a lot of MAGA people. There's a lot of Republicans. Florida's a Republican state. Some other states are in an election cycle trying to figure out who they want to vote for. Is it Kamala Harris or is it for Trump? Well, Project 2025 doesn't support Kamala Harris. They support Trump. So do you support what they call for in a disaster relief and FEMA efforts? Do you support a reduction in FEMA relief and disaster efforts, or do you want it? Do you want it privatized instead of operated by the government? Do you want it to be a business for profit disaster relief, or do you want it to the government, the people you pay taxes to in the richest country on earth, to have a say, a action, to a job to do? It's up to you. It's up to the voters. I mean, you decide. It's not me who decide. Nobody decides on their own in a democracy. You decide what you want it to be. You vote. You literally vote and say, I support this. This is what I support. That's what a voter in the United States of America does. That's their job. They say I support this or they say I don't. You know, Andrea, you alive? You alive? How's the weather? Damn, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're okay. It's a lot of people right now, and a lot of my viewers aren't okay right now, Andrea. You know, to be honest with you, quite frankly, I had somebody write me today to let me know their communication's been affected greatly um, by the storm. So I guess FEMA is responding, and obviously a lot of communication lines get taken down in these storms. FEMA would be it would be great to get the government, not just FEMA, but the government. They've been discussing this to help get lines underground like they do with fiber optic cables and things like this. Because some of these other lines, for it to be something that you suffer with time and time again, every time there's a disaster, obviously states don't either have the money or aren't, maybe they want the federal government to chime in on it. But there is a role in these kind of big projects for federal government. I mean, not even just a role. They're the ones that can handle it. Look, think of this. When a company goes out of business, who's there to save them if they're needed? The federal government. Why are they there to save them? Because the federal government is the only one with that kind of power. Private companies don't have the power. But is it wise to suggest, like Trump did in Project 2025 at least, is it wise to suggest that disaster response relief should be reduced under FEMA and it should be put in privatized hands? Is that wise? Do you think somebody business is capable of taking care of America? That is crazy. To think that you would put disaster relief in a business name. I mean, I have no clue. I have no clue at all. B Buccaneer, what's up? Yeah, no to privatization. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm in break room. You against it too? I'm like, what is this? They act like I lost a gold chain and I need the government to go find my gold chain. No, this is a house. This is a neighborhood. This is a town. And they're like, we're gonna hire a private detective. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Yo, look, we build the best subs on earth. Why would I want anything less? We got the strongest military on earth. Why would I not want that same government to have the strongest relief effort on earth, on my own soil? I mean, it should be pretty obvious, you know what I'm saying, to a thinking person. But instead they like, nah, let's find out. Let me hire a new company. Let me hire a new company to just start it yesterday to handle disaster relief. What's the company name? Donald Trump Jr. I bet that's what the company's name is. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump, Ivanka. The disaster relief program. The disaster relief program is we're gonna privatize it. We're gonna get 3 big companies to chime in and be the middleman. One of the companies is going to be named Ivanka. The other one, Donald Trump Jr. And what's the other one going to be called? Mitch McConnell Express. I don't know. But, I wouldn't trust it to nobody, no company. I don't want nobody with no company's name showing up in a war. What the fuck? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the U.S. invaded and then somebody says, you know what? Instead of the government handling this war, let's let a private military, they're going to be the leaders. They're going to decide the fate of everybody. But that's essentially what's happening. I mean, it's not happening. That's what Project 2025 proposes. Right now, what's happening is Biden has issued a disaster thing 24 hours before Helene hit. And so when the president issues the disaster statement, then the federal government has to respond. That's how it works. We weren't affected by the hurricane where I was. Okay, thank God. Thank goodness you weren't affected. Yeah, you must live in a good area. Because, well, I guess if you're not on the Gulf, it doesn't matter, right? Or if you're not on a major river, possibly, something like that. But in any case, this is what's going on right now. It's not looking that great. And yeah, to those of you that have been affected by the storm, I hope that the state has some programs and facilities and aid packages and water, shelter, ways to help people. I'm not sure what the remedies are right now, but I'm pretty sure they're extensive if you can access them. But then again, let me just look this up real quick right now while we edit. 2 seconds. Let me see here. What measures have been for Hurricane Helene? I suppose it's pretty early, so I think it would be housing, it would be shelter, food, and clothing, right? To start with, right? But I don't know the specifics about that, and I guess the state are the ones who would be releasing that information state by state. But yeah, it's worth reviewing. It's worth reviewing, Hey, break room, you there?
I don't know. Am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You there? How you doing? What's up? What's up, sis? You awake, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm a late night owl. How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
Doing okay?
Just up late. Yeah. It's 5:43 a.m. So I just got up in the middle of the night over here. Yeah, and I was like, let me see what's going on online. But yeah, I'm good. Just been resting. It was my day off. I had a day off yesterday, and today. So
Oh, cool. Well, I came up just for a second, just to say something that you had said. Let me step out of this room so I'm not echoing real quick. Something when I came in and you was talking about how Trump minimalized, what was really happening as far as like the water, the floods, and all this different stuff. And what it reminded me of is,
he was responding to a question about global warming.
Oh, well, what it reminded me of was when we first had to do this COVID thing. I mean, when this COVID stuff first came, and I remember when Trump minimalized that, right? And he kind of made it seem like it wasn't as bad as it was. People wasn't getting that affected like they was. And what it did was it took out the caution that people should have remained. We should have remained with a lot of caution. But he was lightening it so much that people kind of stopped, taking as much care. Everybody was getting stir crazy, wanting to go out. And then when you think about the economy, he wanted to open up the economy so quickly that also caused people to become more and more affected and transmit this COVID stuff and all of that. So the reason why I'm saying that is because we have to be careful. We kind of have to pay attention to the history of how people move, like how Trump moved with the COVID thing. Now how he's kind of minimalizing certain things with this disaster. And we have to be careful because when somebody is minimalizing a disaster or any type of thing like that, it also minimalizes the help and the aid that you are going to get. People don't really know if you acting like you don't need help, we're not going to offer help, or just things like that. I think it's sad because honestly, when it comes to disasters, a lot of times it takes a long time to rebuild or to get people back on their feet. Oftentimes, some people never really recover, back to any type of sense of normalcy. So it's just really, really sad. And I just want to shout out to people to be careful with who we're electing, who we're putting in certain positions, and make sure that they're not the kind of person that's going to minimize your life disasters and tragic things in their lives. Like, don't silence it. Don't and then don't take away the help that is barely there in the first place. Like, shout out to the help and the people that give aid to those that are in disasters. But dang, it's like how much more can you take away? You know what I mean?
It's like a lot of times, and I was like this myself when I was younger. I didn't always correlate, the vote to what you get, what it's about. Why should I vote? It didn't connect in my brain until I became, a parent, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, to where you have to start thinking about other people's lives besides, focusing just on how your personal life is doing, right? And I realized later that, wow, it really is real. Like, what you get is what you vote for, especially in a wealthy nation. If you don't vote for it, you don't get it, because how you demand it, one of the main ways that you demand it is through a vote. Because if you have an official there, right, you can elect a new one that doesn't work well enough, or doesn't do the job well enough, or does not succeed in their goals, and on a collective level, that's how that's done in democracy. But literally, you have a great opportunity in Trump to examine how that works. We have a leader who's responsible for the federal response. He's the executor, right? So he has to issue the disaster statement. He has to make a statement before the federal government can react. And the reality of it is that when you look at Trump's words, you could see that there were people begging him to take COVID serious. I mean, how often does that happen? The world leaders are like, there's an epidemic coming, but yet your leader has to be begged to take it like it's an epidemic. And we're the most powerful country. And I'm not saying that because it's something that I earned personally. I was born an American citizen, born in the United States of America. So I didn't do that on my own. I was born there. I was fortunate enough, right? But the US is a powerful country. Every move that it makes affects the system that it lives in, the world. So when the most powerful country doesn't take an epidemic seriously, it shows you that we're not willing to cooperate with people on the most basic level, on the most basic one, let alone more complicated things. And Trump, indeed, I made the same correlation you did. It reminds me, it's giving off Trump vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People need to know that, look, you're very lucky. You have a president that takes this shit seriously. But just so it is concrete, so people that just hear this conversation develop, right? Just so they understand what's going on here. Project 2025 is calling for a reduction in disaster relief, and it's calling to privatize it. That's what this is about. And they support Trump. They do not support Kamala Harris. Trump is pretending like he don't know nothing about it, but that shit is out there and people are talking about it. It's in the election cycle. Project 2025 is in it. It's been fact checked by loads of people. You cannot deny it. You see what I mean at this point? So folks need to understand that although disasters happen, we need to figure out what we can do about it. Do you think global warming is real? Do you think states need reassuring in the dams, in the dam, the way the dams are built? Do you think any the bridges, infrastructure? What did they think Biden was talking about? People are not. I mean, unfortunately, it's too many people that are falling on this conspiracy side and aren't taking their dollars serious, because people pay for it. You pay for good relief or you pay for bad relief. The question is, what relief do you get? Is it going to be good, or is it going to be Hurricane Katrina trapped somewhere, with people getting shot somewhere, like Kanye pointed out? Is it going to be the Wild Wild West when a hurricane hits? You see what I mean? Who the leadership is plays a definite role in that. If the president does not make the statement of a disaster, the government can't do nothing. not the federal government. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's crazy.
And it's scary.
It's true. That's how it works. It's scary because we have some states that are at the point where they're literally trying to. I mean, look at Florida. Florida's a Republican state. Florida gets hit by these natural disasters all the time. So the leadership in Florida, they need to be out talking about this. Do they want to privatize relief efforts or not? Because you can't have it both ways. You know, they need to be talking about states that are in this pathway of this hurricane. They need to ask themselves, hey, do you want a government that may not react? Do you want a president that may not issue the disaster relief? Or do you want, one that is cool with it and just saying, hey, people need help. This is a disaster. Get the word out. Let's take action. Let's try to save some lives, save some homes, save some communities. I mean, that's literally the choice you have. The state, you could rely on the state fixing these disasters, but let's be honest, who's best equipped? If the United States military is the best equipped to fight a war, then the United States government is the best equipped to handle disasters.
Absolutely. I
So
totally agree.
yeah. So for me, it's a simple choice, but everybody's not at the same point. Folks are still thinking about it, and by the way, this is a big disaster, but the United States, you should be happy that you are the country you are, because there's a lot of other countries and landmasses, they cannot handle this. This is something they can handle. It's just going to happen. You're going to be out of a home. You're going to be out of everything. And do you want to have a government like that thinks of you the same way? That's like, oh, well, yeah. Oh, well, people will but there's countries like that. There's places on earth right now where that's exactly what's going to happen because they don't have the money. But the U.S. got the money.
Yeah, I think people better start getting their heads out the clouds. I mean, hey, Flint, Michigan still waiting on some clean water.
Yep. I mean, you could see that the state ain't obvious. The state obviously is not going to get that one correct, right? You could see that. It's like, because how long you got to debate about it? It's supposed to be a right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's an infrastructure issue, and I can only ask myself, who's blocking it? That's all I can say. Who's blocking the clean water at this point with Flint? I need to look up on Flint, Michigan a little bit more, but I know that the issue hasn't been resolved. I think they had some things outlined in the in this infrastructure program, $1 trillion infrastructure package that the federal government is offering states, but I don't know how it translates into the state level, like who's on board with that. I mean, some states do things like that, like blocking, like I think Texas blocked the food, what is it? A food program for kids in school. They didn't want it. They rejected the federal government's aid for that. Shit like that. So I don't know. I want to look into Flint on its own because it is if you don't have clean water, you may as well live in a disaster. Everybody needs it. So I mean,
that's tough right there.
That is tough. Water is heavy. Have you carried around the amount of water you need to drink? If you had to carry that on your back every day, I mean, but that's what they're doing. So, we're going to find out how it's going. But hopefully this one disaster that things happen well and people get some relief and that they're happy. The relief is up to par. And I'm sure
hope so. Because I have a lot of supporters over in the break room that I've seen a lot of supporters of my own and some others that I follow who has supporters that have been affected by this. And I have a few people on my own team over there in the break room that have lost everything, house flat, like lost everything. And it's just so sad that we kind of sit and watch it. If you're not in it, like people like with the Flint thing, if you're a state that's not going through that, it's just like watching gerbils in a little spinning cage or something. It's like we just look and like, oh wow, da 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 da. But it's just so quickly things could be right in your very own neighborhood, and we don't fight to keep it from happening to us. You know, it's sad.
Absolutely. Let me see. I'm sorry, I'm just typing something. Here we go. Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear that, but there like you said, there are people whose lives been affected by this, and I'm just happy I'm not one of them. But with this global warming thing, and what that is doing, creating hostile weather patterns, you could say, and it's creating the flooding because the water got to have somewhere to go and escape through. I don't know if how much science class people have attended, but when water hits in one place, it needs a way to get out. And if you don't have effective passageways to get the water out, it ain't going to just get out. It's going to get out, but it's going to get out through your home.
Yeah.
And it's going to get out through flooding the sewers. And when the sewers get flooded, a lot of time the water gets flooded. So because it rises, so it gets contaminated that way. So it's it's not seeming like a lot of people are that aware of how this works. But when the earth gets hotter, it has to produce water to keep itself cool. And when the earth gets hotter, at the very same time, the polar caps melt, which produces more water. So the place the water is supposed to go is also being filled up with more water. So you can kind of see in physics, you got a problem.
Yes.
That's ultimately what they're talking about in terms of flooding. But that's not the only thing. Look, fire in itself, just fire is the same issue. The forest burning up because it's too damn hot, then pay a little or get on board with this nature thing, because it's not going anywhere. And again, you're going to pay for it one way or the other. You either going to pay in infrastructure, or you're going to pay in disaster recovery. Which one you want to spend your money on the most?
Yeah, I say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
definitely, especially when you got the money.
Yes.
Why fight over the money when you got the money? That's crazy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back down and watch from the chat while I finish getting myself together. But I thank you for letting me come up, and I will still be down here listening and interacting.
Oh, well, thank you for hopping up, Break Room. No worries. It's always a pleasure to and I've been meaning to hop up over on your panel too when it's the timing. Sometimes I'm at work. But you know something? I mean, you said exactly what is on a lot of people's minds, and I hope more people listen to what you're saying about this, because real people's lives are being affected. And for me, it's anecdotal to some degree, because I live on the third floor. I live in a building, a apartment building. So I'm on the third floor. I'm in the middle of the city, so there's a lot of resources here when flooding hits. But it's flooding here too. Not even
really.
Yeah, it's flooding here too. There's flooding.
Oh, wow.
There's no hurricane here, but there's flooding. Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, so people are concerned about global warming. They're concerned about the rise in the sea level. They're concerned about the rain, the monsoon type rains that are starting to hit, and the infrastructure is not there. So there's flooding. Luckily, where I live, they've been talking about it for a long time, though. They're one of the countries that's been ahead on it, but can never be as far enough ahead. You can never be that far ahead. That's how bad this thing is.
Absolutely.
And as you can see in the U.S., you could have all the money in the world, but if you took no preparation, right? So you could have it all, but if you take no preparation, if you don't, get busy, you're going to continue to have, this is going to be happening. But the flooding, how do you get the water out without the infrastructure? It's dooms. It's doom.
Yeah.
Be a way to get the water out once it floods, once it takes over. And right now, the infrastructure is although Biden, they did pass the infrastructure bill, the infrastructure in the US is late, bro. It's late.
Yes.
It's supposed to be 20 years ago, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And are you on Instagram or you have a contact way? Because I would love to have you on my show over there, getting more deep in depth with this.
You know something? You see where it says private chat? Let me put my email right there. Let me see here. I'm gonna put my email in this one real quick. Okay. Boom. There it is. You see that?
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, just shoot me an email, no problem. Or send me your number. I use WhatsApp, so I can give you my WhatsApp number too. Matter of fact, hold on, let me see something. Let me see. +45. Okay, there it is. Boom. I think you got it now. So yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably easier with WhatsApp. You know what I'm saying? Because I see that more frequently. I check my email every other day, pretty much. So if it's not a long message, you can just shoot me on WhatsApp.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I sent my well, that's my regular number. So
I see you. I got
yeah.
it. Yeah,
So definitely gonna be in touch so we can get I like these kind of conversations, and they're very informative, and I'm trying to get more of this type of stuff over there on my side to get the people informed is very important. So I'm gonna link with you so we can set up something and start getting his word out a little more, because people got to pay attention.
I feel you. Hey, good luck on that. I appreciate you. Let's do it.
Yes, so I'll be in touch, and I'll be down there in the chat listening. And thank you so much, bro.
Appreciate you. Break room. Thank you. Break room 411. Everybody. Hey, yeah, y'all could check it. Hey, drop your handle also.
I sure will. It's real simple. It's @ break room 411.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna put it here in the chat also. Oh, I see it. There it is. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat at break room 411.
Yep.
Yeah, it's there right there. Boom. Yeah.
Real easy.
Folks can go over there. Yeah.
Yes, everybody is welcome. It's a cool place when I'm not fussing at nobody, but yeah, we have a good time. And y'all come over anytime you want. And Brother V, I'm stay over here learning from you.
I appreciate it. Hey, and we all learning, we're all learning. So we just spread what we learn, spread what we see and what we find out, when we can. So
absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, bro. I'll be down in the chat.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome, no doubt. Yeah, y'all, that was break room. So appreciate sister hopping up and speaking her mind. A lot of us, this is a conversation that is appropriate right now. Because I'm don't get me wrong, I like to have fun. I like to joke around. I like to make jokes. I like to, be on the light side of things, but also I like to be on the serious side too. And these are serious times. I mean, well, for me, I'm in that age, I'm in my 50s. So I'm like, when it comes to my money, when it comes to my energy, I don't have time to waste. So I'm not on joke time all the time about things. So, um, I do correlate and link the dots. So when I see stuff like this happening, immediately I ask the next question. Like I say, what is my government doing for me regarding this matter? And I looked into it and I said, okay, well, damn, Biden, he released the disaster message 24 hours a day before the hurricane hit. Okay. That's about normal. That's what you would expect, right? Because without the disaster message, the federal government can't act. FEMA can't come in and act. They can't release their funds. They can't release their personnel. They can't hit the ground, right? Now, not in full force, So now they have that declaration, so they can hit the ground full force, and even before the storm arrives, right? It can be done based on a prediction, right? And so that's what's happened. But then when you compare it to, well, I mean, just ask yourself, Project 2025. That's the next thing to hit. I said, you know what? What is Project 2025? What do they think about natural disasters, hurricanes, and this kind of stuff? And I just looked it up. I just said, let me research it. And I got the document, and I said, let me control F the document, search it. So I press control F, and then search bar opened up, and I typed in FEMA. Lo and behold, they do have a position on FEMA. That's the federal disaster response. And what their view was is that they want to limit FEMA responses to natural disasters, and they want to privatize responses and recovery efforts. And I'm like, what the people need to talk about that? That's not a joke. And as a matter of fact, for the people who wrote that part of that document specifically, this is what you need.
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
Because I don't accept that kind of stuff. You ain't going to get that one past me. You will not. You have to. They must have wrote that Project 2025 for a bunch of people that can't read. That's what they're hoping on. That a bunch of, I'm sorry to say this, but there is a trope that goes around where they say, if you want to hide some shit, put it in a book. Look, they literally told you they want to privatize and reduce FEMA response to natural disasters in America. They had the nerve to tell people that. And I don't want to hear nobody that claims to be informed about no presidential candidate that got hit, that is in an area that got hit by this storm. I don't want to hear you dodging the question. I want to hear y'all the most talk about what Project 2025 thinks about what a government should do during natural disasters. Because that question is for you. And if you in your mind are one of the people affected by this hurricane and you've been out there troping for Donald Trump, then just remember what come with Trump, with Project 2025, they support Trump. Forget if Trump admits to knowing about it. This fool claimed he don't even know nothing about it. I mean, come on. That's like what a kid says when they stole a candy bar. It wasn't me. I don't know nothing about it. That's the pettiest. Your job is to know about shit. And you don't know nothing about something on the internet that's published that any of your advisors any day of the week, even your mama, your wife, can access at any time she want to. And you don't know nothing about it. But their headquarters is in DC, like a lot of these lobbyist groups. They got loads of money and you know nothing about them. Most of your wealthy constituency knows about them, but you don't know nothing about them. They having meetings on camera talking about you, how much they love you, and you don't know nothing about them. Well, okay. But for me, you earn one of these.
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
Yeah, because you're not getting nothing over my head that easy. You see what I mean? If you put it in a book, I'm going to read it. I will be gladly reading it. And I know how to use Control F to get to the meat and potatoes or what I want to read in a document. So I read it, and then I pulled up a couple of articles where they already talked about this. It's not a secret. It is not a secret. In this Project 2025, they propose eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms. Yes, it is a real thing. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's not something made up or guessed. It's not a conspiracy. It is facts. And I'm going to put this article in the chat again. Here is the article about Project 2025 reducing FEMA response. And hold on, let me put a space there. Yeah. And then here's the article. Boom. I hope it all makes it inside of the chat, but if it doesn't, here we go. So here's the article. It's in the chat. It is a real thing, and this article was published August 8th, and it was published right after the last the last hurricane this summer, and they talked about this. The article is part of a series from the Center of American Progress, exposing how the sweeping Project 2025 policy agenda would harm all Americans. The new authoritarian playbook published by the Heritage Foundation would destroy the 250-year-old system of checks and balances, right? And they want to reduce the FEMA response. As climate change makes extreme weather events more common and more costly for Americans, the far-right new authoritarian playbook would leave communities with fewer resources to rebuild after disasters like Hurricane Debbie strike. And it's them. They want to do it. They want to privatize even the response time. So that means people that can even have the least, they want you to pay for this shit. You know, they want you to come out the pocket when you already pay taxes. You pay your share of taxes. You pay your share. You know, you pay your share too. So now let me see one other thing what I'm gonna do when I look this up. And don't forget to fill out the poll, people that are just hearing coming into the live, and the people that hear the live once it's finished. Go into the chat, because I got the chat on replay. So if you get a chance, answer that poll too. It'll probably stop after 24 hours. But the poll says, do you support privatizing disaster response and relief as suggested in Project 2025? Now, let me Google something. Trump, let me see. Trump, let's see, beachfront property statement. Now let me see if I can find that one. Right, here it is. I mean, this is, you know, this is really bad when you don't really have to go far to, you know, to smell the coffee beans. But here it is. Let's see here. This is Trump's comment. He was just asked this. Hold on. He said this a few times. Sea level rise just means a little more beachfront property. That's what that means, y'all. I mean, he said it more than once. This is not it will start getting cooler. Combating climate change. Man, this fool been all wrong. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But in any case, let's remind people. Let's remind people about this.
Not that the ocean, and when I hear these people talking about global warming, that's the global warming you have to worry about. Not that the ocean's going to rise in 400 years, an eighth of an inch, and you'll have more seafront property, right?
Trump has now said this multiple times.
He said it multiple times. He's definitely said it multiple times. I mean, here, let me just skip past this part. Here we go.
It's happening at nearly a sixth of an inch every single year. Second, if the sea level were to rise 10 feet, which at the current pace would happen in between 60 and 70 years, you would have large parts of Wilmington, North Carolina, Virginia Beach, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston, and their surrounding areas underwater. Not to mention, Miami and most of the Florida coastline would be completely submerged, and coastal cities like New Orleans or Houston.
And I'm going to tell you flat out, you know, it's going to affect even earthquakes in California. Like, you have to understand something about physics, right? Pressure pressure is what you're talking about. And water brings a lot of pressure. You see, it has to apply pressure. And, so you can imagine that the places where this thing is, the ways that this thing, global warming, can affect a lot is through pressure. Water is one of the things that they're most worried about, the pressure from the water. You see, and that, I mean, it just tells me, I'm not saying I don't have a degree in physics, but to places that already have, shaky, earth and gaps and things like this, I would imagine that sea pressure wouldn't help. I can imagine that. But in any case, they just talked about the East Coast in this, and the guy is saying that DC, Wilmington, look, this is this water pressure, this increase in water. This is this is an attack on a lot of cities in the United States, particularly on the East Coast. It's not something to just take lightly, and to it can affect everything. Andrea, you
I'm
here?
here. I'm here.
Good
Can you
night.
hear
It's
me?
12. Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, what is it, like, not 10 o'clock in
It's
Texas?
11.
It's 11. Okay.
hmm
11 p.m. How's everything going on over there?
I'm fine. We're fine where I'm at. No problems at all.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I have plenty of family on the East Coast that we've been checking on. Everybody's okay so far.
Okay.
hmm
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I have no, I don't even know what the worst stories are on the East Coast. I mean, it seems like so far in the news cycle, it's talking about the southern areas like Florida, Georgia,
hmm
Louisiana, right? North
hmm
Carolina also, I guess, because of they have some coast, right? North Carolina got
hmm
some coast
hmm
and some rivers. So, major rivers. So I could imagine there, but in the north, you hear anything in the north about this?
No. But what I wanted to say too is a lot of these insurance companies are pulling out of these states that have these hurricanes and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just FEMA, that they're trying to get rid of. Once the insurance companies are gone, you don't have nothing else either, you know?
Right. Yeah,
So,
yeah. If you don't, what do they call it? If you don't, you have to apply, and you may not get that kind of coverage. You may not be able to afford it on certain levels,
hmm
or in some cases, they don't want to do any disaster recovery.
hmm
Right? The
yeah,
the the, the insurance company, they don't want any disaster claims. I mean,
hmm
I don't know. You know, to me, it just seems like, well, you would have to be pretty uninterested, or to not understand how this works, which a lot of people are. I mean, until something hits them, right? um yeah, and things don't always hit all the people at once at the same
yeah,
time, but just as a thinking person, a person that's a little more aware today than I was when I was younger. I mean, there's no excuse. There's younger people today that understand this fully, but for some reason, it took me a little bit of time, because I never experienced any disasters or anything like that I never had to worry about much as a younger person. But today, this is a regular fact of life.
hmm
Flooding. This is where it's at now. This is what people talking about in terms of natural disasters. Flooding. What do they call it? Landslides, and that's also due to the rain, and then the fires,
hmm
right? And everyone, by all measures, it seems like they're all up. Like, there's more of them than there's ever been.
yeah. I just wonder if, some of these governors, like when this stuff hits, do they leave their state and go someplace else, right? Because
Right.
it's just like these some of these Republican governors, they holler against the government. They don't want big government until something happens, and then they get to hollering, and then They want these Democratic, presidents to come in there and do all this giving money and all this stuff, which they should. But it's amazing how they don't want government until they need government,
Right.
and that's what
They
gets
don't
on my
want their face
nerves.
on
Either we're a country for the people and by the people, or we're not. And if you don't want to service your people correctly, then don't get anything ever. No infrastructure money, no nothing. If that's how you feel about the government, you know.
Yeah. It seems like they don't want their face on the recovery. Like, but even
Hmm.
though you have to be, you want the recovery, they just don't want their face on it for
Yeah.
political reasons. But that's ridiculous. It's a childish, it's an infantile response because, disasters should be where all the adults want to chime in. You see
Hmm.
what I mean? And for a party to want to evade like government response it's just ridiculous because you want the government to do the big jobs that obviously industry on its own can't do,
Hmm.
and people on its own have been shown to not be able to do. I mean, people will survive how we always have, but that ain't saying a lot
No.
because people don't always survive well,
Yeah.
if at all.
If at all.
Survival
Yeah.
don't have to look that good. Survival doesn't have to be the government gives you, a aid package for your state so that people can have their homes rebuilt or people can afford another place to stay until their home is rebuilt or remade or until, the government don't have to do it. But if you can,
Mm-mm.
if you can, get by that way, wouldn't you rather get by with a positive response from the government than a poor one?
Yeah.
I mean, you could survive both, but I'd rather survive well than just
Yeah.
survive by the, string of my pants.
Yeah. But when he talked about that beachfront property, anytime those homes on the coast that are built on those beachfront properties are torn down from a hurricane or whatever, they are the first ones to get rebuilt. They're the first ones to get rebuilt, knowing every year this could happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen every year.
Yeah.
It's and it's way further. It's way further than the beach now. It's
Hmm.
it's like the beach is. That's going to get hit. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
even know why that's even viable. Well, I don't want to hurt anybody's business, but you could guess that that's a seasonal business. Obviously,
Hmm.
beachfront. That you're only going to be there for a certain amount of time. The rest of the year is no good. But look, I don't get it. I listened to Trump a million times say that story about it's going to be five more inches of beachfront property. Is that so bad?
Hmm.
Whatever it is he said, and people don't realize that's his response to global warming. That's his response to the hurricane. That's his
Hmm.
response to flooding. That's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And if you vote a person like that into office, what would be driving it? I mean, in fact, to be honest, when it comes to stuff like this, there shouldn't even be a chance in hell that that every presidential or every you know candidate, not just for the presidency, but for any office in government on the federal level, it's crazy to think that someone would have a theory like Trump had
Yeah.
when this is real life every year, life and death.
That's just it is amazing that people don't, again, they don't consider what's in their best interest. It's always, we don't want that person to have it. But at the
Mhm.
same time, if I'm living in the same community that you're living in and I can't have it and something happens, then you're going to be in that same boat with me. I mean, it's so stupid. It's stupid. Like those folks up there hollering, not to change the story from the flooding and everything, but the people are hollering in Springfield. There was nothing going wrong in Springfield. Those folks weren't saying anything about the Haitians being there until that fool opened his mouth. And now it's causing that whole city and that whole town to have problems that didn't exist
before he opened up his big mouth. So you can holler and say we don't want certain people here, and then when they're there, they're not there, and your city is suffering because somebody opened their mouth. You ask for that. You know, it's the same stuff all over again. If something happens in your, like the flooding and all that stuff, you can holler, "Oh, we don't want government. We don't want big government to come fix our problem. You know, we don't want that." But then when it happens to you, then all of a sudden, oh, well, the government didn't move fast enough.
Yeah.
The Biden administration sucks. Yeah, the Biden administration sucks. We couldn't get the money on time. Blah 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 blah. Well, your governor is the one who's responsible for, once they issue whatever monies that can come your way. It's the state's responsibility to get you your stuff. And a lot of times it's held up because the governors don't want to do what's right by their constituents.
So I wonder how many who voted on that infrastructure bill. Actually, was it a unilateral? Was it both? Was it bipartisan?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go out there and look.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find something on that. But yeah, I mean, it seems to be that pattern. You know, they're caring about the Haitians in Springfield. You know, but I wonder what their commentary is going to be about this storm.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But you remember?
Yeah, go ahead.
You remember years ago when they had that? I think it was snowing or icy real bad up north, and they didn't want the government to do nothing. Them fools up, Chris Christie and all them was out. I think he might have changed his mind because it hit so hard. It was really bad. I can't remember what they called it. They gave it a name.
But ice storm.
Yeah, it was really bad too. It was a real bad one. And you know, again, folks want to say the government don't want the government. We don't need the government. We don't need the government until they need the government. You know. So I mean, it's just constant. It's a constant. You know, we big government, big government, big government. We don't need all this big government until it happens to them, and then all of a sudden, you know, we need all the big government we can get to take care of everything. You know, it's just so ludicrous.
Where is he? Where was he a governor?
New Jersey. I think he was governor of New Jersey.
Okay, I think
something like
this is okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, I didn't even think that a guy from New Jersey, and they got a big beach too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that there could be this type of look at this. There's instances, local politicians, particularly from states or cities on the East Coast of the U.S., have declined or downplayed the need for federal assistance during ice storms and other natural disasters. Yeah, you know what? I remember that. And Chris Christie, is he heavy set guy, right? Right. I know who you're talking about. Black hair. Yeah. He's been the governor for a minute now, right?
I don't think he is anymore.
Really?
He was at that time during that ice storm. Yeah.
Okay. I want to. What year was that? You remember?
I don't. I'm thinking it's during the Obama administration, but I'm not for sure.
Okay. Yeah. People have, in general, you know, the conversation in the U.S. I guess there is a need to have an opposing view, but when it comes to things like this, you would want the conversation to come from credible sources, you know, science, essentially. And science has said this is a real problem. You know, it's universally pretty much understood that way. And there are governments that for one reason or another don't like the idea that to be a part of an agreement, they would have to, you know, upgrade their efforts to combat global warming. That's one issue in itself, but there can't be any question about that this is a problem. You know, these natural disasters seem to be getting bigger. Things like flooding, whatever you want to call it, flooding and hurricane natural disasters should be an issue. It should be a priority for everybody. And it just seems like here, no, there's just more time for debate. More time. Let's just wonder. Let's see another disaster hit. Well, we're gonna see how this storm hits New Jersey. I hope they. I don't understand it, but this is a real problem. The flooding is a real problem, and the
Yeah, we
storms
just
are connected to it. So
have to check on Pumpkin, make sure she's all right, because it's
yeah, she in
headed
New
in her.
Jersey. Exactly. Exactly. She's in New Jersey. And yeah. We're gonna see. Well, I appreciate you hopping up, Andrea.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure, and it's good to I'm glad you're okay. And you know, but we're
Yeah.
gonna see this one. Obviously, it's gonna take a couple of days for the storm to clear. I think it's pretty much it's already passed through now, right?
Yeah, I think the worst is over. It's just a lot of rain.
And now it's
You
the
know that.
water that's just stuck.
Yeah, it's
Needs
the
to get
flooding.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like that comes with the infrastructure, and it things need to be upgraded, and they've been saying it for a long time, but now people get another chance to think about what this stuff means.
Yeah.
When the
They
water
said
hits,
over
you have
50
to have
people have died so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
But let
And that's
alone your property. Yep.
exactly.
Mayhem, you won't be able to get this is like you won't be able to get things anywhere, let alone people. I mean, access to the internet, phone lines, clean water, uh, and then your car, your
All
home,
that. Yeah.
everything.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, but those particular people, because they don't want us to have anything. They'll holler, we don't want it, we don't want big government until something happens to them. And then it's like no holds bar. We want every dollar the government can give us. They just
Right.
don't want us to have it. They don't want us to get reparations. They don't want us to have everything that they have. They don't want us to have it. And so until something major happens, and shoot, like you were pointing out with COVID. I mean, look at the disaster that happened to people because that fool was trying to short circuit any kind of way necessary for us to get the right help or have the right plans in place to make sure people didn't suffer. He didn't care about us suffering until he got COVID. It wasn't an issue until he got it.
That's so true with Trump. That is so true. He's yeah.
And then all of a sudden, let's write some checks. Let's give them. No, but you didn't think about that because you were trying to do everything else. When the heat, when it gets real hot, it's going to kill it. That didn't happen.
You know something? You mentioned something interesting. Trump, people often give him credit for those checks. But what people seemingly to have forgotten is that he was under pressure from Democrats to do something. That wasn't something he did on his own, those checks, right? That's Congress, right?
Yeah.
Let me see something here.
And he kind of slowed it down a little bit because he wanted his name on all them damn checks. Biden wasn't concerned about putting his name on no checks. He's like, man, let's get this shit out here and let these people get this damn money. But that fool held up money coming to people because he wanted his name on it.
Let me see here. Yeah, that's right. He wanted his name on it, so it did have to come through a bill, right? Bill passed in Congress. What were the votes? Let me see. I want to see what the votes were on this particular thing with the COVID. Let me just pull that up on the screen real quick, just to remind people what we're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
I bet you he didn't inject any bleach in his veins. I bet you he didn't do that.
I bet you he didn't. No, hell no, he didn't. He should have tried it. He's the one who suggested it, right? No, let me see here. Let me play back what Chat GDP pulled up regarding the stimulus package.
The COVID-19 relief checks in the U.S. were part of several relief packages passed by Congress. Here are the key votes on the three main relief bills that included stimulus payments, also known as economic impact payments or stimulus checks to Americans. 1. Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act, March 2020. Stimulus check, $1,200 for individuals, $2,400 for married couples, plus $500 per child. The bill passed the House by voice vote on March 27, 2020, meaning there was no recorded roll call vote. However, the bill had broad bipartisan support. Senate vote passed March 25, 2020. 4 senators were absent. Number 2, Consolidated Appropriations Act 2021, Second Relief Package, December 2020. Stimulus check. $600 for individuals, $1,200 for married couples, plus $600 per child. House vote passed 359-53 on December 21st, 2020. Senate vote passed 92-6 on December 21st, 2020. 3. American Rescue Plan Act, March 2021. Stimulus check. $1,400 for individuals, $2,800 for married couples, plus $1,400 per dependent. Passed 222-11 on March 10th, 2021. All Democrats voted for it, and all Republicans voted against it, except one Democrat who voted no. Senate passed 50-49 on March 6th, 2021. The vote was strictly along party lines, with all Democrats supporting and all Republicans opposing. These votes reflect the significant bipartisan support for the initial COVID relief measures. But by the time the American Rescue Plan was passed in 2021, the voting became much more partisan.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
You see that? So look, that's so crazy. As soon as Biden comes in office, then it becomes partisan again. But the Democrats weren't partisan when Trump was in office over the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Am I getting that right?
You got it right.
It looks like it. I mean, here are the votes. And so, again, people need to be reminded of this stuff. And, really, it shouldn't be just because Trump, a disaster could happen again. But we should be up on this stuff because this is what our vote is about. This is what our vote is about, what it comes down to, leadership. Right?
Yeah, because even with these types of disasters, it causes all other kinds of stuff. Because once the water settles, you got that black mold that can settle in, that can cause all kind of breathing problems. It can cause all kind of health issues, all this other kind of stuff. It's just not just the flooding; it's everything that comes after that, right? You got, especially down in Florida, you got alligators and snakes and all that kind of stuff to deal with, right? That puts people in harm's way. They're not thinking about all that. All they're thinking about is making sure he shut down every part of the government possible to help people. That's the reason why COVID got out of hand, because he closed down those departments that were solely responsible for making sure we had measures in place to keep those things from spreading. But he didn't do that because he said the sun is going to be so hot, the virus is going to go away. I'm like, man, are you just a stupid idiot? And people believed him. And so now we got all this other stuff that's going on. Once the water recedes and all that kind of stuff, there's other issues that are going to come up that are going to be just as dire as the flooding.
And you know something? Look, this is funny because didn't Trump just call for the government to be shut down? Yeah, but it's not even the first time. He did it just weeks ago, right? And he did it before last year. I think last year it was about the SAVE Act, right? Which would require proof of citizenship for voter registration, right? And he's doing that. Isn't that pretty much what it's about? Let me see.
But thankfully, they didn't.
Right. Right. Because you already have to be a citizen to vote for the president. It's already a law. So what did they? You can already be disqualified. That's what they're looking for. Ways,
Yeah, all these states trying to stop people from voting. It's sad. It really is. North Carolina, they say, just purged over 700,000 people from their voter rolls.
And you know what? How are you going to complain about voter fraud, but you don't want the government to be funded? What the? How are they going to stop the voter fraud if they're not funded?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, at shutting the government down is not an answer to voter fraud.
Just
You
early
know,
voting. Early voting. That's where voted for. Well, you voted early.
he voted early. He voted already.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's
It's just,
crazy.
it's
That
just
is
mind-boggling
totally hypocritical.
that people are really not paying attention. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is. And
Mm-hmm.
well, we see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We're going to work. It's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. People, at one time, I remember when I would entertain some of the conspiracies. There are some conspiracies that I think are worth entertaining, of course. But in terms of this whole slew of, like, for the last 10 to almost, what is it, since 2016, all the conspiracies from then on and up, it's too many. It's just too wild. It's gotten even worse. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact that there came all these new type of conspiracies that are related to politics in the US, on the internet, in these new sources, like, what's this guy? He's still in trouble. Alex something. What's
Alex
the guy?
Jones.
Alex Jones. He's still in trouble. He's losing
Mm-hmm.
shit cases still to this day. I think they
Mm-hmm.
just had a new ruling about him yesterday or in the last 2 days.
Yep. He has to liquidate all his assets and give that money. Yep.
Yeah, the judge is frustrated now. They're like, enough
Mm-hmm.
is enough. Pay that
Mm-hmm.
money. Sell your shit.
Yep.
Get the
Yep.
money. And this guy was out there talking about the shooting and the schools wasn't
Mm-hmm.
real. And it's all like insider job. What did they call it? False flagging. All this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
9/11. It's like, come on, 9/11. Oh my goodness. Just like
Mm-hmm.
all of this really insidious type of conspiracies that are like, it's really telling. But after all these years, 16 years or something, 15 years, I don't know how long it's been since that, 10 years, this 10-year period, right? It's made me just get completely over all those things. At one time, it was like, 9/11? Would that be like inside? Wait a second, Cheney and Bush, yeah, they knew NORAD was going to be somewhere else. But that stuff, at the end of the day, you end up laughing at it because it's like blaming them for being who they are supposed to be, in a sense. Blaming them for being on the job. It's just, you want to believe they had something to do with it. Nobody else on earth, though. No one
Mm-hmm.
else on earth.
It's crazy.
Nobody else. Nothing. No. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to get caught up in that whole 9/11 talk
Yeah,
today. But
not to change the subject. You heard old Mark Robinson had to go to the hospital yesterday or whatever.
he burnt his hand.
I
Yeah, I
don't know
read
what
that.
happened to him.
He burnt his working hand.
Is that what happened to him?
I don't know. That's what they say. They say he burnt his hand. Sounded to me like he wanted a day off. He was like, man, I'm going to burn my hand. I get to go home, avoid the media for a day, get the hell out of here,
I
escape.
didn't know what happened to him. I thought he might have gone in because the hurricane was headed that way.
Yeah, or maybe it was
Yeah.
that. That was a false flag hand burn. He like, I burnt my hand on accident, y'all. Yeah, sorry, I'm sick. I'm going to play sick. Yeah, but I don't think, well, the government tells you to leave, but obviously a real, if any person who's a sitting governor, obviously your job is to govern. So I don't think it would be right for a governor to leave when other personnel are there,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're the leader,
Yeah.
right? And the military's there. Whoever else is there, what are they? The National Guard is there.
National Guard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. They're with you, protecting you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So where do you need to go? The only person that would leave, it would have to be really, 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 really bad. So I don't know. But hey Donnie. Yeah, but it is what it is. You know what? It's a toss up right now. You asked the question, is Mark Robinson still in North Carolina? Who knows? He might have ran. It's a toss up. You never know. He burnt his hand. He's off the scene. He's under the radar. So We're gonna find out when his hand gets better.
Mhm. It's like you don't want to laugh at anybody's misfortune, but at the end of the day, you know, all that rhetoric he's putting out there. Hey, good luck, bro.
Oh, he
You
has
know.
the worst. He has the worst.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, never mind. I just can't even play over some of the despicable things he has said. He 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 reminds, you know what Mark Robinson reminds me of? He reminds me of, what's that movie? Um, Birth of a Nation, the real one, the first one.
Mhm.
You know, the KKK version.
Mhm.
It reminded me of that. Like, wow, we still we have a role like that in our ethnic group. We actually have a role of a just so despicable. I mean, it's the most despicable things he's said, Mark Robinson, about
Mhm.
you can't. He literally said that it's African Americans that should be the ones paying reparations. It's us who owes. That's what he said.
Yep.
I mean, where does that get a pass? And that's Trump's That's Trump's endorse. He endorsed Trump.
But
I mean, Trump endorsed him. I'm sorry.
but when they asked him about him, he said, I don't know all the details. Mhm.
Oh, Mark
That's what
Robinson.
Trump.
Do
That's what
you
Trump said
support?
about him.
What did he say? He said he don't know. He
He
said
didn't
what?
know all the details. I
Yeah,
don't know all the details. Mhm.
yeah, we know. He never knows all the details. But
Mhm.
but for Mark Robinson, this question is also for Mark Robinson. Do you support Project 2025's proposed eliminating aid for families and businesses rebuilding after storms and hurricanes, natural disasters? Are you opposed to FEMA? Do you want a reduction in FEMA response and aid relief during disasters in America? Or what's your position on that, Mark Robinson?
I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to do all that other stuff. Why wouldn't he be for all that stuff in
It's
Project
all a
2025?
conundrum. Yeah, it's a losing answer for him either way.
Yeah.
Because if he's for it, then he's not he's not
If
for
he's
reparations.
if he's for us returning to slavery and he wants to own 5 of them, so he don't care about that. That Project 2025 is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, that was a drop in the bucket. He want to go way
Mhm.
back. Yo, this is it's like
Yeah,
a whole lifetime. This is
he want he wants to go outside the book, a whole
he
nother.
want to go to the Stone Ages. He wants
Yeah. When they keep saying we just, it's time to turn the page, it's time to shut that book, and not the Project 2025. Like when you hear Kamala say, it's time to turn the page. No, it's time to shut that book, close that book down. We don't need to do nothing, not that any book that they're trying to espouse that we need to be following.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
crazy. They crazy.
Yeah.
It goes to show you we can show our ass better than any people.
Hmm.
It's
I
like,
was talking to some of my Haitian friends, and they were talking about the stuff that's happening up there in Springfield, and they were like, we don't eat dogs. I said, I know that. I know y'all. I've known y'all. I've known them for a long time. And then she said, they kept talking about, they're bringing doctors and lawyers. I'm like, that has not. They don't care about what you do for a living. That is not it at all. It's just you're Haitian. Not we're all Haitians because they pulled some brother over thinking he was Haitian. I said, I told you this. They make all black people
they're
Haitian.
making up.
And I told them, I said, they hired y'all to come over here to do factory work. So they don't care. They don't care about all that other stuff. They don't care how good you are to the economy. They don't care about none of that. All they care about is the fact that right now they're targeting y'all because you came into a city, you made it better, and they don't like it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's Tulsa. All over.
All over. I says
they made it better, and now folks are
Yeah.
mad that somebody got a job. Somebody's paying
Mhm.
taxes. But they could
Mhm.
have had the same job.
Yeah.
They didn't want it.
Yeah.
So
I said they said the town went from having 80,000 people down to 60,000 people. and they brought y'all in to make it the slack because they had to open up the factories, which that fool said he was gonna open, but he never did.
Yep.
He never did. That's why people left to go
Yep.
try to find jobs in other states and other places.
He
And then when
lied.
they did reopen, yeah, then they had to fill those positions. And then y'all were having all that civil unrest in Haiti, so they brought them over here.
Yep.
You know, I said, I keep trying to tell you. I said, I said, you've been here long enough. You should know by now. I keep trying to tell y'all what happens to black folks in America. Now you're getting a taste of what I've been trying to tell y'all for years. Join the club now. You join the club.
Yeah, now they know. Now they see how
Mhm.
easy it is. And Black Americans, we should never tolerate this, that it's happening to Haitians.
Mm-mm.
It's not something
No,
that benefits us at all
no.
because, there is no law. We're separated by borders that were made by colonizers.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, your own, what group of people, Europeans, you see them trying to build alliances with each other, right? Which is legal.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of us, what we're doing is trying to build bridges, trying to burn bridges. Not build them, but try to destroy bridges,
Mm-hmm.
break alliances that we have had. And even if it's just based in our common history, that's okay. That's what a lot of Europeans organized by. They have alliances based on common history. Not that they have to be the same, but a respect for certain things they all have together, like culture, preserving their culture. Different European countries have different languages. They got different forms of religion, different, stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they organize to make sure that they can maximize on those things that are, make them different. And in that they become one. But we could do the same thing. We could organize. We have differences with Haitians in some ways, but the thing about it is that shouldn't overrule the underlying truth. And the underlying truth is that we were separated by colonial people. That's
Mm-hmm.
colonial law. That's what separated us. It's not a social, the social separation came after. You see,
Mm-hmm.
so we didn't have this way of viewing each other before. So
Yeah.
it's a thing of the past. It's not even a thing of the past. It's a new thing. So we should reflect on that when we listen to people like Tariq Nasheed and these kind of
Mm-hmm.
folks like suggest that this is not our fight, that we have no common struggle with diaspora. I mean, we do, obviously, and it's playing out politically in the United States of America's in their own political conversation. It's playing
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So what do you do? It's like, what do you do in this situation with all this flooding? You just gonna try to find out who's FBA first or
yeah,
ADOS first? Are you gonna
yeah,
do that first? I mean, so all these people don't deserve any kind of federal aid because their houses are flooded and all that kind of stuff. I mean, where you gonna draw the line at? So the stuff that
exactly.
just gets to be so ridiculous.
I can't wait to hear the new Tariq Nasheed podcast about how Haitians are benefiting from disaster money. you know, what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Him
especially
and
in
JD
Florida.
Vance. Him and JD Vance going to have a panel discussion and shit.
Mhm.
They're going to invite Sean Hannity in. This punk
Yeah,
ass up there too.
yeah,
I'm a
all
second
that.
generation immigrant and I hate immigrants. This is the Haitian, you know?
Yeah,
This is crazy. But
it's
those are the times
crazy.
we live in. Yes,
Yeah.
we got to clown them. And for all of them, it's sad, but justice must be done.
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
Yeah.
Every time you play that, that makes me laugh. Every
Yeah,
time.
they deserve one of those because that's what they're representing. The side that deserves a slap.
Yeah.
But all right, Andrea, I'm gonna let
All
you go.
right.
I'm gonna shut
Okay.
it down. Uh,
Okay.
it's been a good talk. It's been about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Damn, almost 3 hours. That's long. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Mhm. Yeah, I
But
came in about an hour. I was trying to hold on, but I actually laid down early tonight. I was kind of had a little headache, but I'm okay now.
well, it's good when there's no rush, So I'm glad that
Mhm.
have gotten you to hop up. That was great.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna call Bev. I know it's late over there, but I'm still trying to call her, make sure she's okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
All right.
Okay. Well, we
Okay.
talk. Yeah, we talk. Be good. We talk.
Me too.
All right. All right. Peace. All right, everybody. I'm gonna drop out for this evening. It was a pleasure hopping up and getting a chance to chit chat with folks, see how everything is going, and I appreciate y'all once again. Listen, for those of you that are listening to the playback, uh, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Project 2025's proposed plans for reducing aid reaction from FEMA and emergency action from FEMA and aid, right? Let me know where you stand on that. Ask your Republican friends, where do they stand on that? Ask the people that are voting for Trump, where do they stand on that? Because Democrats are obviously against it. So the question is, where do the Republicans stand on natural disaster? Should we follow Project 2025 suggestion? Or should we, slam the door in their face?
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
You be the judge. Let us know. Inquiring minds want to know. We definitely want to know. Yo, be Buccaneer. Peace to you too, brother. And thank you, Donnie. Also, love me fru. Love my fro. Love me fru. And Andrea. We actually, who did we miss today? You know what? Bev. Yes. Things worth knowing in New Jersey. We didn't see her. I hope the power's on in New Jersey. And for all of y'all that are affected by this disaster, hopefully there is some help out there. Help your family and help your communities too, because until the rest of the help gets there, I'm sure the help is already on the ground in some instances. But to those that are still in need, most in need, I hope you do get that help. And let's see what we can do to make it possible for more Americans to get help with more things that are problematic nature in their lives. Because for some people, the disaster doesn't come in the form of hurricanes. For some people, it came in another form. Or, a disaster is a disaster, whether it's a social political calamity, or whether it's a natural disaster. America, United States has the money, and it should be able to, resolve all issues better than most nations should be able to. So I'm a person that advocates for Americans, citizens, U.S. citizens, to have paid access to school instead of paying. I think American kids can be paid. Young people, university, technical school. Why not just pay people to go to school? That's my view on it. Why don't we have universal health care? That's my view on it. Why don't we have housing insurance? That's my view on it. Affordable housing, and a number of other things that other NATO states have. The country I live in has. And so why doesn't the U.S. have it when it's a staple in other capitalistic societies in the Western culture, Western world? It is. And socialism doesn't exist in Western democracy, but capitalism in different form exists. And so some capitalistic forms already have, although the market is driven by capitalism, by the the value of things, as far as the rudimentary things, those are all taken care of. So the U.S. has the money to do even better. So the politicians need to get on board with that, get behind every American citizen, stop trying to fight over things, and stop things from happening. Fight over what you don't want someone else getting, when you should want to fight to make sure you get things you need. So why stop someone else from getting what they need when you want their support and getting what you need too? And that's what democracy is about, trying to find out the things that we all need, and get those things done. So on that note, I'm out. I appreciate everybody. Bless.
close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there for my whole life, the ones that came later in my life, yeah. I appreciate all the blessings God has given me, and I want to repay it to you like this. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Introducing. This is the joint where we give shout outs to all the peeps, you know what I'm saying? You know we couldn't do this joint without spreading some love to the ones. Yo, check it. Leah.
You're quite hostile. You're quite hostile. You're quite hostile. You're quite hostile.
Yes, we go.